Welcome to episode 26 of VYPE Recruit Spotlight. I am your host, Wack. Joining alongside with me today is just Jackson. Ashton had some work commitments he couldn't make, so it's just me and you, man. But how you doing today, man?
Doing good. Had a very busy day today. Drove out to Dallas for a media day at Dallas Christian. Have another media day tomorrow, then driving back to the Woodlands for a media day on Saturday. So just going to be a busy weekend for me. Also been a pretty busy and exciting week in recruitment as well. So very excited for the show today.
Yeah, it's kind of media day central for VYPE right now. I mean, all this week, kind of all next week. Next week we got San Marcos on board, which I'm excited about. Happy to have them as part of the VYPE campus family. And we got San Antonio Christian on Saturday and Regents the day after San Marcos. So lots of good campus stuff around the corner. Be sure to be on the lookout for that on VYPE.com. But yeah, there was some busy week. It was a busy weekend, I guess you could say, in the Texas high school football recruiting ranks, and of course, no bigger story than the Texas A&M pool party. Some commitments worked out, some did not. The Austin Novosad kind of thing. He put a post out. I think it was it Tuesday or Wednesday, I believe it was, that he is staying with Baylor. We'll see if what plays out. Obviously, he has until February technically to decide. But early signing day is coming up towards the end of the year. So with that being said, Jackson, talk to me about this pool party, man. What were your overall impressions? I would say A&M came out definitely a big winner in all this. But give me your overall impressions on it.
Yeah, I thought it started off kind of with a bang the day before, 2 days before the pool party, really, with Malachi Nelson, 5-star quarterback from California who's committed to USC. Took an unofficial visit to Texas A&M. This was not a paid trip by A&M. This was him paying money out of his family's pocket to go visit College Station, which is very interesting. And obviously there's a lot of interest there. And I saw something before we started the show that there is a lot of interest in Texas A&M for Malachi Nelson, which is huge for Texas A&M as they've missed out on a couple quarterbacks since former A&M commit, now Alabama commit, Eli Holstein, went away from the Aggies class. So this is kind of big news for A&M. That was the start the weekend off. Then you had number one linebacker in the state and in the country, Anthony Hill, commits to Texas A&M. This was huge for A&M. It's a head-to-head battle with Texas. It really puts a great start on this class. A&M has been missing that big-time linebacker. Haven't been able to get that guy in the past couple of years. Finally, they got a commitment from Anthony. He's a guy that's going to be locked in. Already is recruiting from the class, so big-time get for the Ags there. Next off, we had Dalton Brooks, DB and wide receiver from Shiner, committed that weekend as well. That's another big get for A&M. He's a guy that can play either position at the next level, which is very intriguing for A&M to have a guy like that, as we took a guy in the last class from Georgia that does the same thing. So those were two big gets on the weekend. And then that leads to Monday or Tuesday, if I believe, with the Tascasita defensive lineman, Samu Tomonupepe, big-time get for A&M. He's a guy that A&M likes because he's different than the typical defensive lineman they've been going after the past couple of years. He's a large human being. He's 6'4", 380. I've heard he's already dropped down 25 pounds, trying to drop down another 25. He's got a quick twitch, great motor, super strong kid. So very excited to see him commit. I actually got the chance to talk with him after the commitment. A&M has been his dream school. He got the offer at the pool party, sat down with Jimbo for about an hour, just talking about the offer, talking about Texas A&M. So it meant a great deal to him to be able to commit to his dream school and get to go to play at Texas A&M. So it's been a great week there to start off with the pool party. And I know I got a couple more things to say, but I would love to hear what you have to say. Back to that, Josh.
Yeah, I think everything kind of went as expected. You know, we kind of talked about this last week. Sure, Texas was in the running a little bit. You know, between them and A&M for Hill, but I think a lot of people thought A&M was the move there. If you're asking me, I think Texas hasn't done a good job in the last maybe 3 or 4, or maybe even longer years of developing linebackers. And so, until they can probably start doing that, A&M is going to have the advantage there if you're talking about who they're going to choose. Now, we'll see, because now you got Braylon Shelby up next, right? I think he's down. Who's he down between? It's Texas and USC, right? Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, and I think he's committing this week or sometime soon, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, we'll see. That would
be
yeah. So we'll see if Texas. We'll see if Texas can get that. Yeah, you didn't get Hill, but I mean, that would be a nice kind of consolation prize if you ask me. I think for me, the steal of that is Brooks from Shiner. People sometimes they don't really look at the 2A, 3A, 4A schools for their quote unquote smaller schools, but to me that's an absolute steal. I think Brooks is one of those dynamic type of athletes where he's going to have success at the next level. Don't count him out just because he plays for a 2A school. So for me, Brooks was the absolute steal. I know you said you have a lot more thoughts. So I want to turn it back over to you, but I do have a question I want you to ponder. Outside of Hill, who we, that was probably the big name, and let's take Malachi out of the equation, and maybe even Samu and Brooks, because we kind of talked about who else, and because I know you're in these Twitter spaces for A&M kind of insiders, if you will. Who else outside of those kind of four, maybe really got a great impression from A&M and might be leaning towards them now that hasn't really already committed?
I think TJ Shanahan from Westlake. It's been kind of rumored that he's definitely leaning towards Texas A&M. He's a guy a lot of people thought was going to commit at the pool party. He ended up waiting. I think he's going to take some official visits and really enjoy the recruiting process. But I think he's a guy the Aggies can get. I'll bring up Malachi Nelson again. I think the impression that they made on him this weekend is huge. And it's huge in two ways. One, you get a chance at getting one of these top quarterbacks in this class after you missed out on two others. The interest is there. That's number one. That's the big part about this. Number two is we have already had a visit from number one wide receiver in the country, Zachariah Branch, who is also committed to USC. Now, Branch and Malachi Nelson both want to play together. So if one of the two decide to flip to A&M, you could see A&M getting the other guy because they want to play together, which this could be huge for A&M's recruitment, huge for their recruiting class. I think Nelson being at the pool party was a really big deal for A&M. Also, other than that, I would think some of the 24 guys that they had come I heard lots of things from mainly the Atascocita players, specifically Torrey Blaylock and Nate Kibble. They absolutely loved the experience at Texas A&M. All of them only had great things to say about A&M. And I think the pool party just leaves a great impression on these kids. Also, you get to eat what many people in the recruiting world have called the best barbecue they've ever had from D-line coach Terry Price. Watching him pull out 80 racks of ribs for these kids and mixed with brisket and sausage. It's just a fun experience for the kids. They love it. All of them were talking about how great the barbecue was. So I think this weekend was a great thing for A&M. You saw a lot of kids really enjoy the experience and really kind of impact their recruitment. One last thing I will bring up about another kid I believe A&M now has a really good chance with is Peyton Bowen from Denton Guyer. He's committed to Notre Dame. He had gone on a visit to OU with his quarterback who's committed there, Jackson Arnold, who we had on the show not too long ago, and he really loved the visit at OU. I think it was kind of cool for him to be there with his high school teammates, and the idea of playing with Arnold at the next level is very intriguing. But Bowen also went down to A&M, and Anthony Hill, who played Little League football with Peyton Bowen a lot, really was in his ear all weekend, and there were lots of good things to be said about how those conversations went and how he felt about A&M. So you could be seeing Peyton Bowen, who's one of the top DBs in the state, start to flip his commitment. And if it was up to me, I would say it's definitely between OU and A&M at the time.
So you think he's done with Notre Dame then, is kind of what you're saying? Well, if you go ahead. You guys.
I mean, unofficially, I think he is. I think based off his past two visits, it's very intriguing to him. One, to play with his teammates from Denton Guyer, but also then two, his childhood best friend, or one of his childhood friends that he's played Little League football with Anthony Hill. When you got the number one linebacker in the country in front of you at safety, and then the D-line recruiting class with a guy like Samu and some of these other guys that A&M is getting, especially from the last class, I think it's going to be a fun time to be a DB in the A&M defense the next couple of years. So I think that's very intriguing for him, and we'll see how it goes.
Definitely. I guess one other piece of noteworthy commitments happening from the state of Texas high school football was Colton Vasek. I think I said that last name right. Apologies if I didn't. He commits to OU, which many people thought he would. That was kind of the thought going into the weekend, and he does. Some UT fans, I guess, are a little upset because he's one of those legacy players. His dad played for UT, and he's from that area. But at the end of the day, you gotta go your own path, right? And heck, his teammate and I think good friend did commit to UT, so he's there now. Graduated last year. I think Ethan, if I got the name right. I'm not 100% on that, but I think that's the name. It escapes me at the moment. But regardless, he commits to OU, and he's going to forge his own path. So that's probably the other kind of big time commit that I saw from this past weekend. Did you see any other commitments outside of those from A&M and Colton?
Yeah, I mean, I saw a commitment from Klein Kane DB Davin Martin committed to Louisiana Lafayette this weekend. This is a kid I got to watch in a playoff game last year against Spring. He's a DB that can do it all. Definitely plays the ball well, plays well in coverage. Those Spring wide receivers were no joke last year. He was able to stay step in step with them. Very impressed with him, and ULL is definitely getting a big-time DB out of Davin Martin. Other notes I just have recruiting across the state are Farquan Jr. from the Woodlands, class of 2025, picked up an offer from Penn State. This kid's recruitment has really blown up this offseason, picking up some big-time offers. Penn State's the next to add to the list. He's going to be a big part of this Woodlands explosive offense next season, so I'm very excited to see that. And one last thing, just about the Colton Vasek commitment. I think it's something very interesting to look at for Texas, because I think this dude's going to be a freak athlete, a great D1 player. I think it's going to be a guy that when Texas looks back and they're in the Cotton Bowl playing OU and Vasek's getting in the backfield, that's going to be one that they're going to be wishing they didn't miss out on. I just find it hard to see why Texas wouldn't try to push harder for a kid in their backyard. But big time get for OU. Very excited for Colton and to see the rest of his career play out.
First off, yeah, it was Ethan Burke, so that was his friend. But it will be interesting, right? I mean, we can never know what goes on behind the scenes, right? Why they don't win someone or something like that. I mean, heck, I'll say this: they'll have to contend with the Texas. On paper, seems to be building a pretty nice offensive line. I mean, from all accounts, Banks, the freshman, has shown up, and he looks like he's a senior out there already. So. At the end of the day, we can only know what goes on. We can only assume what goes on behind the closed doors. I know they have their eyes on a couple of others. Gillette, I think he's committing actually sometime soon in the next few days, and I know I know that's one of Texas's targets. And hey, maybe they stay on him and try to get him to come to Texas between now and signing day. So. Yeah, man, it's sometimes as fans, as me and you both are, it's one of those weird things where you can scratch your head and be like, why didn't we get this commit, right? That happens many a time. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we're all just kind of we can't do nothing about it, right? We just have to just hope for the best when it comes to being a fan, and we both know the pain and suffering of being part of teams that really haven't been to the promised land. And I mean, I don't want to put your team on blast, but so I won't say how many years, but mine, it's been, quite a few years as well. So, hey, but I feel like we've said this, I think the last 3 or 4 weeks, 2024, 2025, it's going to be great football when A&M and Texas meet. They seem to both be building great programs. And heck, I even as a Longhorn, I can admit, A&M, if they get the right pieces, I mean, they got the talent on defense where 23, 24, I would not be surprised if A&M could potentially win it all. So, with that being said, any other last comments before we move on to our interview for the week, Jackson?
No, I mean, that's pretty much all I got. And like you just said, I'm just glad Texas and A&M are recruiting at this level again. It's great to see them get nitty and gritty in the state of Texas and compete for the same guys. Winning Anthony Hill from Texas for A&M was almost like watching a football game for Texas A&M playing each other. You have fans going back and forth on Twitter. It's just a fun time for Texas football and A&M football right now. I'm very excited to see them play. And as an A&M fan, I'm excited to see Texas kind of back to where they used to be. I want to play them. I would love to watch A&M play them at their best. So it's going to be a fun next couple of years in the SEC.
Well, if everything pans out the way both Texas and Texas A&M fans hope it will, I mean, you're going to have again, this is dream scenario here. You have 2 top 5 teams playing each other. Game 1 of the rivalry part 2, if you will. So with that being said, Ashton is not here, but he is the one getting us the interview this week. I don't even know who it is. He just said, I got you. So with that being said, let's jump to our interview with Ashton right now.
I'm here with a 2024 3-star Cy-Fair quarterback, Trey Owens. How you doing today, Trey?
I'm pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, man. I really want to thank you for being here, and I really appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invite.
So let's just get right into it, man. So last year as a collective, you went 7-4 overall, placing 3rd in district. Walk me through your sophomore season and what got you to this position, especially after picking up from Carter Craven's last season.
I know I had a little bit of a QB battle with a senior who he was good. I think early on it was pretty even, like during the spring, but after a little bit, I think we kind of moved. I started getting more reps against my backup, and as a team, we were pretty young, so we had our times where you could tell we were young. We had some big mistakes, lost those 2 in-district games that we should have won. But then there were also glimpses of, oh, maybe this can work. Maybe we can be a good team. I think picking up after Carter was pretty tough because that last season they were really good. Lost a bunch of guys, so I'm sure that kind of hurt because some of the O linemen that I had, they were all used to Carter, and then have this little young guy come in. It's like, well, he's not the guy we've had the whole time. But this year, I think we're going to be matured because we're going to have a whole year under our belt. I think we'll be back and ready to win some games.
To further elaborate on what you said, I mean, not many sophomores are able to play varsity, but let alone play for such a team with such history like Cy-Fair. So what worked for you to be able to get into that position and beat out that senior for that starting spot?
I think I just put my mind to it. It's like, I know I can do this. It's not impossible. So I'm just going to put my head down and just do as much as I can. Be first on the field, get warmed up, last on the field, do some extra conditioning, just get myself ready for the season and beat them out.
So to be able to beat out people and be able to continue that, you need to be able to work. I've seen you've been working out with Footwork King recently. Can you kind of talk to me how that has been going?
Yeah, I work out with a guy named JP there. I've been with him since 4th grade, and I've never lost hope in him. I never actually started at quarterback until my 9th grade season. I was always backup. But I never stopped. I never got my head down. I was like, oh, I can't do this. I'm just going to quit or play a different sport or do something else. But I always get my mind to it, knowing it'll all pay off in the end. And eventually it did.
And obviously, like you said, it did pay off. You're now a 3-star. You got around 9 offers. A lot of schools have a lot of interest in you. So walk me through what your recruitment is like.
It's pretty busy during the spring season when it's kind of everything blew up. UTSA offered me first, and I was like, "Whoa, this is about to get fun." And that same day, Rice offered, but it was kind of cool. Felt kind of bad. My chemistry teacher I had 3rd period. I used to always get called out of class in her specific class to go talk to coaches, but she was the nicest lady, one of my nicest teachers I've ever had. But after my spring season, I got a bunch of invites to camps and little small visits. So I went on all of those, went about 8 or 9 camps, about maybe 2 or 3 visits. I really got a chance to get some good relationships with a lot of great coaches, and I can't wait to further our relationships.
So talking about those coaches, what coaches have been recruiting you and talking to you the most so far?
I'd say I have a good relationship with Coach Brewer at SMU. He was kind of one of the first coaches to kind of reach out and want to create a relationship. Talk with Coach Milwee a ton from UT. We get on the phone about once a week, just talk things through. What's the next step? When I'm going to see him next. I talked with Coach Bryant at Texas Tech. He's one of the QB coaches. He's a funny guy. I have a good relationship with him. Went up to camp this year, talked a lot, enjoyed my time up there with him. And one guy I've been talking to probably the longest because Tui at Rice. He's a great coach. He's had NFL experience, so he knows what it takes to have to play that position.
So to kind of further onto those, you said you went on to 2 or 3 visits. Walk me through what those visits are like and what the environment is.
One of the visits, I was just use my SMU one for example. They had a small little mini camp before with some of their recruits, and then after that, I went and toured their facility, took some pictures. But I think the thing I pulled out of it the most is after we went into Coach Brewer's office and just sat and talked about everything, and it meant a lot. He's a very honest guy. I think he's just one thing he explained to me was us coaches too have a dream of what they want to do. Some guys want to go be play callers, want to go be head coaches. So I don't know. I took a lot away from it because a lot of times these days coaches leave schools and players are like, "Oh, I'm out. I'm just out in the open. What am I going to do? Can I just come with you?" It's not how that works. It's just with the transfer portal now, kind of throws everything in the world.
So with your first varsity season under your belt, just shy of 1,800 yards, almost 20 touchdowns, a 3-star rating, 9 offers, What do you see junior year holding for you?
I think the goal for me and my team is kind of I'm trying not to pay as much attention to the recruiting because that will come. But in this moment, I want to win as many games as me and my team can because we have a great coaching staff, a great just group of players, and like a family. Right now, I think we're just focused on getting the playoffs, winning district and winning every single game of the playoffs, and hopefully make a little run at state.
All right, Trey. I really want to thank you again for being here this early and getting up and just doing this interview with me. Do you have anything else that you would like to say to the people that may be doubting Sci-Fair next year?
I know it didn't look great last year, but things are about to turn up, and we're going to be one of the teams to watch for sure.
All right, Trey, man. Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
As always love to have these interviews week in and week out. Get some good interviews. So maybe I need to try my hand on it. I've done a couple, but maybe I need to try my hand at a couple interviews. We'll see. We'll see. That being said, let's move on to our Under the Radars for this week. Of course, our Under the Radar segment is where we take a look at athletes we consider our quote-unquote under the radar for one reason or another. Whether that's maybe a 4 or 5 star that doesn't have as many offers as we think they should, or it's a kid that is a no-star kind of athlete, but we feel the talent is off the charts and they should have more offers than they do. So that being said, let's turn it over to you, Jackson. Who is your Under the Radar athlete for this week?
Yeah, my under the radar athlete this week is Chris Gilbert Jr. from Katy Tompkins High School. He's a 6 foot, 185 pound dual threat quarterback. He's a guy I got to watch at a King of the City camp run by Mike West a couple weeks ago. I was really, really impressed with this kid. Really caught my eye all day. He can throw the deep ball. He can throw the quick pass. He can throw the ball over the middle. Guy just has a big time arm. Was putting the ball on the money all weekend. He's a big time playmaker. He's a guy that I can see definitely picking up some offers in the next couple of weeks. Also in this fall, playing against some of the top competition in Texas 6A football. As you can see in the highlights, he's just a baller, and he's a kid who definitely deserves a shot and definitely deserves a school to offer him. I think he's a kid that is going to really ball out in that district this year, and definitely be out on the lookout for Tompkins and Chris as they're going to have a big time year, and he's definitely going to be a kid to watch this next season.
My under the radar this week is Noah Baker of Austin LBJ. I think sometimes Austin LBJ gets kind of maybe lost in the shuffle when it comes, because they were a 4A school. You don't really think of them as a power, but they are an absolute power when it comes to football, and Noah Baker is no exception. Comes into his senior year compiling 56 tackles, 17 pass breakups, and 3 interceptions last year as a defensive back. I think what stood out to me when you watch these clips is his discipline. You can see how he stays on his reads, which allows him to make those interceptions when it calls for, or even the tackles as well, like I said, or the pass breakups as you'll see in these clips. Because speed is key to some of this as well. As soon as he makes his read, he is quick to the ball. He's not indecisive either, right? He doesn't hesitate. Once he knows the play, once he sees it, once he reads it, he goes for it. And I think that allows him to make the plays that he does. So very high football IQ from what I see from this kid as well. I think he's also a good size for a defensive back. He comes in at 6'2", which is kind of that size that you like to see in that position. He only currently has 5 offers: Arizona State, Campbell, Fordham, Missouri, and Navy. Like I said, he did the Austin LBJ. They were a 4A school for quite a while. They're bumping up to 5A this year, and I feel like just a great senior year by him, from the fact that he's got actually be playing at a 5A level now. I think that's definitely going to help getting those eyeballs on Baker, and I think by the year's end he's going to have more than those 5 commitments. So Noah Baker is my under the radar athlete for this week. If you or someone you know is an under the radar athlete and you want them to be featured on our show, hit us up in the comments. Let us know in the DMs. Send us an email, info@vipemedia.com for one. Myself or Jackson, hit us up in our Twitter DMs. We will cover you on this show. That's what we like to do. We like to show the love to these athletes that are being under recruited for one reason or another. It's going to do it for our show today. But as always, before we get out of here, I like to turn it over and just give you the chance to shout out anything or anyone. So Jackson, what are you shouting out this week? Who are you shouting out this week?
Well, first off, I want to shout out Samu. Really great talking with him. Got to call him after he kind of told me the news that he was going to commit to A&M. Was a really special moment for him. Also really cool getting to work in the sports industry. When a kid commits to the team that you're a fan of, it's very fun to get to talk to a kid about that and talk about that. So shout out Samu for letting me interview you this week for an article. Also, shout out to you, Josh. We're on episode 26. Things have been getting rolling here. We're getting really busy, but we're still getting the show done, still interviewing these top athletes, talking about a lot of recruiting across the state. So shout out to you, Josh, and also just shout out to the entire VYPE crew. We've been really busy lately, but it's been a lot of fun, and we're almost there. We're almost to the end of it, the start of football.
That's right. Halfway to a year for the VYPE Recruit Spotlight, episode 26, 1 year, halfway there. I'm going to shout out San Marcos. I'm looking forward to our campus media day with them. I got a really great relationship with the San Marcos community. So excited to go there and showcase their athletes for VYPE campus and getting the magazine for them. Also, this isn't really a shout out, but this is just, I guess it can be considered a shout out, but tune in this Saturday. Jackson is going to be going live with Parker Jenkins for his commitment. Of course, we may have a hint to where he's going, but you have to tune in live Saturday, Instagram Live, I believe it is, to see where Parker is going to be committing. 11 o'clock in the morning on the VYPE Houston Instagram account. Make sure to tune in. Big time player for Klein Forest, going to be committing. Don't want to miss it. Jackson, that's our show for today. Again, halfway to 1 year, halfway there. As always, we'll be here every Friday at noon, bringing you all that Texas high school football recruiting news you need to know. So until next week, I'm Wack, and that's Jackson. We'll see you at the games.